Because when you're not in your position, who's occupying that space? Who's occupying that space, and who then is identifying it? You know, because then, which is what I was saying, you kind of lose identity. Like, if you're not posting your how,
Yeah.
who is then occupying it?
That post. For me as a wife, who I was when that man said, I have intentions of marrying you, versus my understanding of who I am now in the context of my marriage, chalk and cheese.
Think of it as an interlinked circle with 3 parts.
Yeah.
If the one link is broken,
Yeah.
then everything else breaks, because there's nothing to really hold on to, as you said, and referenced it as the anchor. If that's not there, then what are you holding on to? It's like putting a thread in, like, through a needle.
Yeah.
If that's not there, then what are you putting it
You're not
through?
You can't sew.
You can't sew
Yeah.
everything, and you can't, silly example, make a garment
You can't.
out of it.
There's no stitching.
There's nothing, because it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Right? And that's where the disconnect comes in. But then how do you then navigate it and put things into place that would manage it?
We don't have an answer.
I don't. Hi, I'm Ria.
Hi, I'm Modie,
And welcome to The Working
Mom. We're back, ladies. It's been an interesting couple of episodes.
Yeah.
I think we've gone in and around and in circles about, what the topics are, where we are in life. One of the things that Ria mentioned in the previous episode, please check it out, was actually around, doing that reflection work. I remember you said, I'm going to go back and I'm going to just look at everything about me, and I'm just going to reflect on what this episode is actually saying to me when we were talking about self-love.
Yeah.
And today we are here to talk about hiding
from self.
Hiding from self. The first time we actually decided, you know what, let's do this, let's do it together, you said to me, why are you pulling me out of me? And I found it to be so interesting because I was like, but you are you, whether or not you're hiding.
And that challenged me.
Yeah.
Hey, it really, really challenged me, because you made me now, you made me actually think, am I doing myself any justice by continuing to hide? Or am I just a private person? And there's a huge difference, right? Because in me being private, yes, you can be private.
Yeah.
But are you private to a point where you're missing out on opportunities?
Yeah.
And that's where you challenged me.
Shucks.
And you put me in such a, I wouldn't even say awkward. It was a very humbling experience to be like, okay, yes, I'm private, but then what is it that I am so private about that I can't even share myself with others?
Share yourself with others, or share yourself such that you are meeting the requirements of who you're meant to be. Because I think hiding from self isn't as much as about it being about others as it is about you, right? To a point where you're like, am I missing out on me?
100%.
Am I missing out on me? When we started the podcast, I think the second episode, one of my leaders came to me and he said, keep going. He said, as daunting as it feels, keep going. Keep doing it over and over again. It's a muscle. You will get it right.
Yeah, you just need to work at it.
You need to work at it. I think we are so concerned with how we are looking on the outside. We're so worried about what will people say, that you're actually costing who you're meant to
be and getting to that next level. Yeah. And you know what? I think also what it does, it prevents one from forming those authentic connections and relationships with people.
Yeah.
It goes back to the previous episode where
Yeah.
we said that thing of no new friends.
Yeah.
It closes you off to so many opportunities.
Yeah.
But now, right now in this episode, we're flipping it on its head
Yeah.
and saying those connections, those authentic connections,
Mm.
when you're hiding from yourself.
Mm.
Because what version then are you presenting of self to others that are really on a genuine basis trying to get to know you?
You trigger something in me. Guys, we don't mean for this to feel and sound somber. I think when we are having those moments of reflection, you'll see that it almost does a bit of a processing thing. It's almost like you're buffering.
Because we're speaking to ourselves as well.
Yeah, you're like, okay, come with us on the journey as we try to unpack who we are and who we're meant to be. And I'm thinking about how I have sat, when you've sat in major rooms, you have had opportunities to show yourself in a way that is actually the best that it can be, but you don't take up the opportunity. You don't sit at the table.
Yeah. You miss so much, because after you leave that room, you're immediately filled with regret of what you should have done, of what you should have said, and how it could have actually changed the narrative that was playing out in the room had you just spoken up and said something. But because you're so busy hiding from self, you're not realizing, Jorge, people are actually missing out on the wisdom that you may be able to impart. Obviously, not everyone in the room will be receptive to that, but those that it's meant for, they will hear you and then advocate for that to be passed on.
I recently learned that 85% of adults actually have a fear of speaking. And the condition is called glossophobia.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? You don't realize how many of you exist.
Yeah.
And many people need to almost step outside themselves so that they can actually find themselves. And hiding isn't necessarily always a negative thing, because sometimes you're hiding because you're still in seed form.
Ooh.
Right?
Ooh.
So while you're being nurtured and watered and almost in that developmental phase, what are you doing in that space that says, when I come out, I will be ready?
Because you've been in the dark for so long, I get. You're underground, you're in that soil, being nurtured, being watered. And once you see that light, because it's so unfamiliar, that space and territory is so unfamiliar.
So you're just like,
you get the shock of your life. Okay, I now need to bloom. And this is a new space and environment that I've been put in and I've grown into. You just don't get there. You grow into it.
You grow into it.
Because you've been planted, I guess. You were so in the dark and underground and being formed and being birthed. And now that you're blooming and you're in the light, it's unfamiliar to you, but it is actually where you're meant to be.
Wow.
Because you're moving on to the next level of spaces that you need to occupy. And exist in.
And it's amazing, because the one constant we always speak of is change, but we don't attribute it to who we are as people. So you don't recognize that you're consistently changing. One of the things that one of my mentors once said to me was, the most dangerous thing actually is for other people to see your light before you do. Because now
they're able to dim it.
But you're also handing it over. You're giving it to somebody else to navigate.
Yeah, it's layered, that one.
Okay.
Because
tell me more.
There are people who are able to see your light before you. Right? And they'll push you towards it. Right? Because they're like, this girl's sleeping on herself. Why is she not seeing what we're seeing within her? And then there's the other half of people who want to pull you away from it because they don't want you to reach your full potential or to exist within that fullness of self. And once they get that it's so hard to come back from it because you start believing their identity of you, right? So yeah,
and I guess that's why I'm saying to you that you, without realizing, you hand it over to other people. You give your destiny to other people to navigate, which is quite dangerous.
Very dangerous.
Sure.
Very, very dangerous. And I suppose also hiding from self because you're not like embracing who you truly are causes that loss of identity, right? And then you end up not knowing what your goals are. You end up not knowing what your values are. You end up not knowing what ambition you need to carry and what fullness you need to carry with you and obviously present and birth for others to receive from and to benefit from.
Yeah.
So I think
it's a hectic territory to manage, to maneuver, to journey. But you can only walk the path if you know you actually are walking
it. Yeah.
So a lot of times we are very absent in our present. We are working towards the things that we think are of value that actually are not of value. And if you're not conscious of, and I'm triggered by what you're saying when you say your goals, your values, and everything in and around you, right? If we're being honest, are we actually able to list what those things look like for someone who's wearing the hats that we wear? Do you know what I mean? So by that I mean, like, guys, we need to be honest. I mean, recently I was offered an opportunity. I haven't told you. Did I tell you about it? I did, ne?
You did.
I forget the things I tell Ria, guys.
Yes, you did.
And when I thought about it, my criteria, my checklist was, does it align to my plan?
Yeah.
My goals, my life strategy, my values. What does that path look like?
Yeah.
And it's not, you won't have it in black and white, but you will have an inkling here and there. Because when you listen to Holy Spirit, and not to make this a preachy episode, but in how you exist, when you listen to all of your intuition, your signs, and everything that you use to steer your mind, you should be able to account for those things and say, am I ready for these things? Because do they align to what I've already listed?
And just to follow up on that, right? A lot of us will have that life plan, that strategy, the vision, the goals. When the offer comes and it's looking pretty good, how then do you stay true to what you had planned? Because a lot of us see that offer.
Yeah.
And we're like, yeah, I'm on it.
Yeah.
But it's very difficult to also turn away from it.
Wow.
When you've got that life plan.
Yeah.
Knowing that God is in it.
Yeah.
You've meditated on it.
Yeah.
You've prayed on it.
Yeah.
You've surrendered your own plan to Him. And you just said, take control. But then a lot of the times when the offer comes, we want to take that control back. Forgetting that.
How have I mapped it out? But more importantly, how have God and I...
Exactly. We've had a discussion.
Sure.
I've dwelled in His
presence.
Right? You've dwelled in His presence. You've asked for guidance. You've asked for wisdom. You've asked for everything. And He gives it to you, but then you turn away from it by then saying, "Eish, but this one looks sweeter." And then, oh my God, when things don't fall into place.
I think I believe now more than I did then that His intentions are for things to fall into place. I don't think we all believe that. I don't think that we spend enough time marinating on who we are meant to be able to ascertain what that looks like, what's coming out to be self looks like. I cannot. There's parts of us that we will share, guys, and there's parts of us that we are still on the journey trying to unravel about ourselves. And for me, specifically in the work area, when I reflect, I look back and I'm like, all of those things that I went through were meant to make me come out of self.
Of self, yeah.
Because, hey, guys, I remember our leader saying to me, you can't take a take. If you are here if you're the goalkeeper, please stay at your post.
Position.
Yes.
Yeah, stay in your
if
position.
You're a striker, strike.
Because when you're not in your position, who's occupying that space? Who is occupying that space and who then is identifying it? Because then, which is what I was saying, you kind of lose identity. Like, if you're not go posting your how, who is then occupying it?
That post. But if you're not at your post, what happens is that you can't recognize whether you are in purpose or not.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
And then I think that's where also then a lot of us take on identities that aren't ours, right? You copy-paste
Ria.
dintho tsa batho ba bang
Ria.
and wonder, why am I not relating to people in the way that I desire? Why are people not receiving me in the way that I know I could be received? It's because you've gone and copy-pasted other people's identities and ideas and ideals and tried to make it your own. And that's where the confusion of identity then comes in. Because you're not go posting how.
You've left
it. Vacant.
The past couple of days for me have been so grueling. And I remember 2 days ago you called me and you said, "Are you okay?" And I couldn't answer you for sure.
Yeah, I remember you saying.
Yeah, I couldn't answer you for sure because life has changed so much for me that the deciding factors around, is this me or is this not me, have now been turned on their heads.
Yeah.
Like who I was 6 months ago is not who I am today.
No, yeah.
And when you say, Modie, are you yourself or are you hiding? I think my answer is I'm not hiding. I'm in between. Have you ever been
trying to find, one foot in, one foot out.
in, one foot out. But what remains consistent is the heart of knowing where God wants me to be. And if your anchor doesn't change, if your North Star remains the same, you will eventually come out and become who you're meant to be.
Yeah.
And who you're meant to be, we need to be honest about who you're meant to be has different definitions in different aspects of your life.
Yeah.
For me as a wife, who I was when that man said, "I have intentions of marrying you," versus my understanding of who I am now in the context of my marriage, chalk and cheese. The other day, I remember thinking he gave me a response to a question that I had. And I said, this is the submission ground. Now God is like challenging are you a submissive wife? And submission is a very
touchy subject.
It's a touchy subject. But as a woman who knows that I've got a certain level of independence, I do know that the independence heavily relies on anchoring.
So suppose then you weren't someone who was anchored, right? What disconnect would then come into play when it comes to being a wife, being a mom, and being Modie?
Are you saying they have a golden thread? There's a common...
There's I definitely think that they would be right, because think of it as an interlinked circle with 3 parts.
Yeah.
If the one link is broken,
Yeah.
then everything else breaks, because there's nothing to really hold on to, as you said, and referenced it as the anchor.
Mm.
If that's not there, then what are you holding on to? It's like putting a thread in, like through a needle.
Yeah.
If that's not there, then what are you putting it
You
through?
can't sew.
You can't sew
Yeah.
anything, and you can't, silly example, make a garment
You can't.
out of it.
There's no stitching.
There's nothing, because it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Right? And that's where the disconnect comes in. But then how do you then navigate it and put things into place that would manage it?
We don't have an answer.
I don't. I'm just putting it out there.
You're just putting it out there.
Yeah. I don't have an answer. I'm just putting it out there. I have thoughts around it.
Yeah.
But it's something that I want people to also think about.
But are you appropriating the time to go to a level where you realize that actually there's a disconnect?
And that would be individual.
Yeah.
That's an individual's thing, right? To go into retrospect with. Because I can't decide for someone else. And hence why I'm saying I'm putting it out there for everyone else.
Yeah.
To then go and just think about it.
I'm thinking. I'm thinking about it. I feel so challenged, and I'm challenged and I'm blessed at the same time, because there aren't any platforms and spaces that are so close as I have in you, where many of us would be able to access this kind of almost question.
Yeah.
Like you're like, but is it that I'm actually recognizing and identifying that there's certain things in and around me that are not in flow, that are not aligned?
Yeah.
Right?
Huge disconnect. A huge one.
With every episode, I feel like you're coming for me. I think you're coming for me. I continuously wake up with the reality that every day demands of me a certain level of commitment to what I've decided, with the help of the one that anchors me.
Yeah.
That this will be of my life.
You could never do it alone at the end of the day. And I think for me personally, there are times when I tend to forget that. And this is me just being honest, right? Because yes, you can say, this is the plan, this is what I've prayed on. But there are times when you lose that part. And when you step back a bit, you then realize, oh, no, man, I need to go back to who I am.
Yeah.
Not what people think I am, but who I know to be and who God has told me that I am.
You know, we speak a lot about don't settle, right? But I want to turn it on its head and say, actually, if you settle into who you are, it's so much easier. Yeah, you know, when there's a feeling internally, there's a feeling internally where you almost feel like you're taking a chair within you. You're sitting down and you're comfortably being like, this is me.
This is me.
And I find that when you and I are engaging, and just before we got dressed for this episode, I said to you, you are you, I am me.
And it works.
And it works. And if many of us could realize that me being me and you being you serves a purpose, we wouldn't be lurking in the shadows.
And being in limbo.
And more importantly, lurking rather in the shadows of other people. Because as much as I almost am inspired, I don't aspire to be other people. I'm inspired by other people.
Yes.
And I always say there's a life strategy that I've seen people put together, and I'm taking nuggets and snippets of all of these things. And I'm like, okay, so how does this look like for me?
Yeah, 100%. And that's how it should be. But I think with having said that, right, which is 100% the way to go and how we've been doing things, I find that there are people who then just, as we said, copy paste.
Yeah.
And with that copy paste, does it then show up immediately
Yeah.
that it's not you, or is it over time?
Hmm.
And when it shows up immediately and people call it out, why is it then that people are not willing to reflect on it and say, but yeah, I kind of did just copy paste and I didn't, what's the word? I didn't
tailor it to me.
Yeah,
Maybe tailoring. Yeah.
tailor it, and make it a me thing.
Yeah.
And that's why people aren't necessarily receiving me
Sure.
the way I had pictured or thought or imagined.
But can you imagine this construct in the workspace where you're dealing with many personalities, where, and I recently learned, Hore, your work doesn't speak for itself. Rather, your work doesn't speak for itself. You have to speak for your work, right? But there's an imbalance to a degree where you're like, there's heavy PRing on what you can do versus do you have that certain level of delivery that aligns with who you say you are and what you can do, right? And in the context of navigating, be it corporate, be it for us who work in the creative space, I find that it's very challenging to be able to be like, I'm bringing my authentic self, and my authentic self has higher aspirations, right? To become something greater. But where it is now and how it's tracking is good enough.
Yeah, 100.
And I remember one of my colleagues said to me, "You're so gracious. You don't shout."
They truly are.
Thank you.
They truly are.
She said, "You don't shout. You don't panic. You are you're put together. You're so well put together." And I actually want to admit that a lot of it was my cocoon. I was hectically reserved. But at the same time, I realized that even in my coming out of self and unhiding self, I can't speak any louder than I am, guys.
No.
This is
You're staying true.
This is me. The reality is I'm a soft-spoken individual. But unhiding self requires me to, in the context of who I already am, be great. How is soft-spoken me sharing and enabling others to also be comfortable in who they are, such that they're not hiding,
And I suppose with what you've said about your work not speaking for itself and you speaking, does it then go back to people being able to distinguish between reputation and character?
Cut the cameras.
Does it then lend itself to that question?
Yeah.
Character is who I am, right? And what can't necessarily change. It's what I'm rooted in. It's what I believe. It's, the things that are there and anchored.
Yeah.
With reputation, it's what people perceive of you. It might not necessarily be true, but it's a perception that's there. So then, with the work not speaking for you and you speaking for yourself, do people then distinguish between those two traits?
Hey, that one is heavy.
It's because I think that people, with the perception that they have of you and what your reputation is, it then causes that confusion of some people being for you and some people not being for you. Others might be justified in it. Others are biased. Others are just spicy. So then where do we draw the line?
But there's merit in going back to you and establishing what the key traits are that say, this is me at my highest.
Yeah.
And when I'm not hiding, these are the key things that I know I've established. Determine me. Define me.
No matter what people say.
No matter
No
what
matter what
people
the perception
say.
is. Those who know.
But then I take you back to the danger. So fine, you evolve over time and you determine that these are the characteristics that I possess. This is the definition of who I am. Do you understand that as you rear your head, are we ever ready for what comes with
it
coming out?
Yeah.
You run the risk of being criticized. You run the risk of failing in front of people. Because, I mean, it's easier to fail
quietly, yeah. But now you're in front of so many people who are able to point out your mistakes, who are able to point out your shortcomings, who are able to point out what you could have and couldn't have done. You know? And yes, that will always exist. And I think receiving it with grace is a differentiating factor.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
Because as much as the person could be saying it in an unsavory manner,
yeah,
at the end of the day, they might have a point.
Wow.
Right? It's just that that wasn't necessarily your vibe.
I'm hearing you say that unhiding or coming out or coming to being means affording yourself the grace to allow others to correct.
100%. That's it.
But also to be honest about your shortcomings.
Because when you talk about shortcomings, you might not be ready to admit it to yourself. It's something that you might have thought of until somebody then until somebody says it, and then you're like, out there, because they're pointing out something that you do know, but you weren't ready to admit to yourself. Or weren't ready to work on. But because now they've brought it up and put light on it, it irritates you.
It irritates you, ne? But you know what it also does? It shows that you're not ready for the spaces that you aspire to
be in.
And I always get kala, and I'm like, of all the people, all the women specifically that I admire, can I not look at their shortcomings?
Yeah.
Can I go for the things that they bring to the table which are meant to build me? Because if you don't do that, you're so quick to criticize that you stop the flow of your growth. You're looking at what everybody else is doing that is wrong, and you don't account for the things that you're supposed to actually be doing for you to get to that level. And I see it a lot when, so as you, in the come up, what I've observed in the come up, you go up, and then you get to a certain level of a high position. We're the working moms. Like, let's be honest. Let's be honest about the context. You know, then the pressure mounts. But as you were going up, you didn't do the necessary work to accompany that journey.
On self.
And
right?
on self.
Yeah.
And then you get there, and what happens?
You fumble.
You fumble, but you don't just fumble the bag. You fumble you.
Yes.
Because it's great that we are in senior positions. It's great that we're leaders. But the reality is, what are you bringing? What were you meant to do when you got there?
When you got there, right?
And I think I'm challenging myself every day.
I remember someone once said to me, why is it that we tend to want to run away from difficult situations and not turn it and say, I was put in that difficult situation to make it right. That situation needed me. And then, that like made me think so much of how many times I've just pulled away from certain things and challenges because I was just like, oh,
and these
easy life, it's not my portion. Whereas, hey, you've actually been planted there to change that situation.
Wow.
But you've now run away from it. And you wonder why things don't change in certain spaces. Because when, as the change catalyst, you removed yourself
from the context. Yeah. But is it not because you look at children, infants, toddlers, for them, there isn't anything that they do that's going to get them into trouble. They are,
lovey-dovey.
And until the mom says, yay, So from the being reprimanded as we grow, we take away not the lesson of why we shouldn't have done something, but the fact that if you do or engage in something, you can potentially be reprimanded.
Yeah.
So we don't realize it, but we are adults that are sitting, avoiding getting into trouble.
But it's a system, okay? You've been so
programmed.
Yeah, you're programmed. You've been
conditioned.
That's the word. Conditioned.
Yeah.
Conditioned to think that because this is how things have been done for so long, it's right.
Yeah.
And you don't then ask yourself, well, okay, it's been done for so long, but is it really right? Is it correct in its formation? Is the status quo what is relevant now? Especially with us as the new generation of working moms or parents, is it still right for us? And why are we then not challenging it? Why are we going along with it when we can see that it's not working?
Yeah.
And we've seen it over a number of years. But because we've been conditioned to think that it is right.
Yeah.
And because it's been done for so long and it can't be changed, the moment you then speak on it and speak up about it, you see the passive aggressive nature of people and leaders who then don't wanna move with the times because it's a completely new generation of people who are not coming in. We are not our mothers. We are not going to stay for the next 50, 20, 30 years. Right? If something is not working. So either you change the system or we are out.
I think I'm picking up almost a domino effect. So what happens is you're so invested in the system, how it's always been, following the rules, but not as entrenched in your purpose in the greater scheme of things. And that's why, without noticing it, it's easier to live in your shell. So we almost are programmed to stay in your lane. And stay in your lane has its positives. But the stay in your lane where you're hidden and not playing your part is where the problem comes in.
Yeah.
Because I argue that, okay, so someone that's in an administrative role, right? Are they not as important as the person that's sitting in an influential position at work? Because that admin person enables that the higher position person.
The admin,
there's no
going up.
But now I take it back to, we need to hold women and moms accountable for the reality that, to an extent, I'm inundated, I'm busy, I'm a mom, and we push that narrative so much that it becomes the status quo. No, she's a working woman, but she's a mom. So as a result, there's certain boundaries and certain things that she can't necessarily reach, and we're doing it to our own detriment.
I was about to say, it's to our own detriment, right? Because then you're overlooked for a promotion.
Yeah.
You're overlooked for a pitch. because it's what? She won't have time
She won't have time.
for it. Whereas I actually do have the time. If you have taken the time to approach me and ask me, I would have made it work. And that's why we feel, I don't know, there's a certain level of resentment that comes with it, because it's like, how? I would
What
have
about me?
loved to be part of pitch ABC. I would have loved to be considered for that specific promotion, because I know that I've worked so hard towards it. But because I'm a mom, it was given to a male. And then you ask yourself, was that person more deserving than I was? Did they earn it? And then you start then saying to yourself, am I asking myself these questions out of genuine introspection, or is it now a resentment thing?
But I want to challenge
Mm.
the narrative and be like, the individuals, and I don't want to make it male or female, right? The individuals that normally get the spotlight or the opportunity, if you put yourself out there, you'll get it.
True, but
And
I'm sorry to cut you. Sorry about that. But I do find that even if as a mom you do put yourself out there, 70 to 80% of the time you get overlooked. And that's where you feel like I'm working myself to the bone, and what do I have to show for
it? I guess our differences in opinion are almost like a platform for, how do we navigate this? And I hear you, but I still argue, and I take it back to you. I'm like, working mom. A lot of the times, are we not sitting in the shadows? Is it not easier to be like, no, but I've got kids, I've got responsibilities. So I don't have time for me. And as a result, then I don't then come out of hiding. So it's easier to lean on the not doing the work to put myself in the forefront in the first place, to be able to say, I'm now competing with the big guns. Now I'm like, when you get to that level where you're like, okay, I did my best and I was overlooked. Fair. I'm now arguing, are we doing the groundwork to be able to position and posture ourselves well enough to say, I ran the race and the medal was handed over to someone else. I'm asking, are you running the race?
You're posing a very interesting question. Because obviously with a relay match, you need to pass it on and not hold on to something.
Damn.
So why is it that people are not passing on? Wow. And that's my argument.
Are we conscious enough to be able to pass on?
That's the question.
Because
people aren't. And that's why I'm so invested in this. Why do people find it so difficult to just pass the baton on?
I don't think we enable structures and systems that afford us the opportunity to still mom and pass it on. And by pass it on, I mean create teams and, a whole world in your workplace where you're anchored enough to be able to say we're still winning. And I think it's also like a personal drive thing. We have different aspirations. We have, not everybody's driven by the same thing, and not everybody has the same passion. That's fine. But you're right in saying, are we handing over the baton? Because my other thing is you want to be the only one that's shining. And I find that we can't speak for our male counterparts because we've never been male. We don't know that. But as females, we fall victim to, once the spotlight hits me, I'm not conscious enough to be like, if I build people coming up, then the spotlight hits the work that you've done in enabling and creating that environment.
Yeah. And now, speaking of the baton, right? Do you think, in your opinion,
Mm-hmm.
do you think that it's harder for a female to female pass on than it is the opposite sex? You don't have to answer it, right? But it's just something for you to simmer on.
You always find a way of calling out the things that I'm going through. And I say this because having been led by females for quite some time, and I think I've had 2 male bosses, there's a vast difference between the two. And because I'm differently wired to an extent, I was able to identify things within the female versus the male, where I was like, okay, there are things that the males do better than the females. And in the female,
they kind of set each other up
for
success,
yes,
right?
they ladder each other. It's like, okay, I'm up, so when I hear the rope, come next. Up, right? But what I found is that we are very inclined to being victims, Rona, as women. We are very quick to take the victim position. So now, instead of, and I remember one of my first managers, kind of go, when you just got out of varsity, no, I actually had done a year or so of being an intern in a strategy division. And then I had worked in communications company for like 2 years. So when I moved to corporate, I was almost at a level where I could be almost like a communications assistant in that, field. And all she made me do was print papers.
I'm sorry, I'm not laughing.
Ria's laughing. And I'm in this company and I'm with 2 degrees.
Wow.
I've worked at least 2 years, and she only afforded me an opportunity to print papers and bring it to the meeting. So I was her 2IC. And I remember rocking up to the meetings, and I've always believed in showing up well. Well dressed, well prepared, putting stuff down. And every time I would open my mouth to speak, it was right?
Yeah.
At that moment, I realized, okay, so I can't be heard, but I can be seen. So I was there all the time.
Looking good.
And when I say we fall victim, it was in that moment where I could have just been a victim. I could have been like,
yes.
No.
Well, and yeah.
I found a silver lining. If I can't be heard, I will be seen. And then as I moved in my career journey, still being managed by some females here and there, I realized that sometimes I only have myself to blame, because when the opportunity was presented, I went back into the shell. Because remember, I was conditioned to be seen, not heard. But did I account for the fact that that experience is now moving with me? So
you've kind of made it your identity.
Yes.
And it goes back to that thing, Yahore. You're allowing other people to create your identity for you instead of one that is given
to you. Because but you can't create with the identity that was given to you if you don't know it.
You don't know it at all. It's unfamiliar.
So then we move, right? We move career-wise, and I'm now realizing, okay, so I haven't been heard, I've been seen, but now I need to almost flip it on its head and be like, okay, so I've been seen, now I need to be heard. And the only way to be heard is, one, to understand what my KPIs look like clearly, right? And then answer to that by being actionable in what I do. Yeah. So when I say we take the victim position, I would have easily gone into the next and then taken that posture and that character with me. And when this new manager says to me, listen, I want 1, 2, 3, and 4 from you, I would have then been like, okay, but you're demanding something from me that I've never actually had to be.
Yeah.
But, I mean, she doesn't know that.
And that's where you bleed on other people.
Now I'm bleeding on other people, because I cannot say with confidence that I actually know the reality that where I'm from, where I am, how do I reconcile the two contexts so that I can then come out?
Sure.
Yeah. It's it's fun and it's challenging and it's heartbreaking being yourself.
Yeah, it truly is. It truly is, because it's so easy to fall into the trap of becoming what others have said,
Yeah.
right? Simply because at other times being yourself makes others uncomfortable, right? Yeah, it's sure. Yeah, no, I'm doing this because I'm reflecting on so many incidents
Ne?
where, yeah, it was.
But everything takes you back to what you have control over. Ria, you cannot control other people.
At all.
You can only influence,
At all.
but you can't control. But why are we not accounting for what we can control?
Can control, right?
And that is saying, but in certain instances, am I really who I'm supposed to be in that position? I mean, you speak about we potentially will be in higher positions someday soon.
Someday.
But as I work my way there, am I honest about what am I trying to get there and do?
And do, yeah. What are you going to change?
What are you going to change? Or are you chasing money? The other day I said, guys, and I want to share this, right? My life changed the day I realized I stopped working for money. I said that, and I'm sitting with that. I'm sitting with it because I needed to settle on the inside of me that seek ye first.
The kingdom
is that's what's happening to me. Because even in my aspirations, I want to know what he says about where I'm going. I'm invested in that.
Not what other people say, right?
No.
Sure. Wow.
What a wow.
No, I'm like really thinking.
What a wow. And
I'm really thinking.
When I was getting ready for the shoot, I said to the lady that I was spending time with, who was doing my makeup, I said to her, my partner / friend / aspiration holder and we did something very unique for our partners recently. And I said, because we understand that, yes, we're sitting here speaking to women, for women, about women, and sharing with women.
Yeah.
But we need to be realistic about how are we accounting for our lives as we are walking this journey. And sometimes when you are coming out, I remember one of the very influential pastors and musicians once said that he lost it a bit when he did not take his wife along the journey as he changed. And last week, whichever week that this episode airs, in reflection of those weeks, right, we did that because we understand that you and I, in our individual capacities, as a pair, we are coming out of self.
Yeah.
And that means there are many things that are changing about our identity.
A lot.
And if we don't take them with us, I'm gonna drop the mic for you. Let's jump and let's park it there. Let's park it there. But there are many there are many parts of us that we honestly have to review. And I like the word account for, and I like the word take accountability for. In essence, we need to be conscious. Even to your point, on days where you can't be consistent, even if it's one thing that you're conscious of or about.
Yeah.
Make sure that as you are coming about, because it almost feels like you're like turning, like as you turn, it's molded. It's when you're getting molded. It almost feels like when if you've had the privilege of
pottery.
Thank you for using that example.
Pottery.
Yeah.
You constantly being shaped molded
Yeah.
until you are what you need to be.
Yeah.
And even then, you still are put through the fire,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
And after being put through the fire, you are then fully
Mm.
who you need to be.
Who you need to be. But remember, the substance that what do you call it in pottery terms?
The clay.
The clay is made of. You need to understand, Hore, you need to clearly understand what it is that's making you.
Yeah.
That's making you come about.
And the hands that are working
and the hands that are working on you, right? And I emphasize that as you come about, as you're then molded into what you need to be molded into, remember that the key and critical elements become self and the ones that you love. So don't and then turn around and be like, they don't understand me. They don't get where I am.
But you left them.
You left them. You left them.
Oh. Wow.
I don't have any sweeter parting words for this episode, but I think it's as a gift from us to you as a working mom. It's a take a moment and reflect as you walk the journey. You know, just sit in self and be like, okay, I have made a conscious decision to come out, to become, to unfold, but also take stock. Take stock of everything that you have within your control, everything that you are commissioned to do, and keep the North Star
100%
in mind.
You know what? I'm not going to ruin it by adding anything else. You've said a mouthful. You've imparted so much wisdom. And for that, I thank you.
I thank you. I thank you, partner. Remember, mommies, we are available on all of the major platforms. So we are for audio, for your mommy on the go, on Spotify, the Working Mom Podcast, on YouTube.
Working Mom Podcast.
Across
all platforms.
And we're also on socials, on Instagram, as well as LinkedIn.
Yeah. And that's it from us.
Thank you. Yeah.